So the next poem I'm going to do, and again, I hope everybody can hear me. Guys, I really wish things that I knew was that technology is another, field. So I hope that everybody can hear me. Please confirm if you can hear me. Please confirm if you can hear me. Joburg and its networks, it's crazy. Anyway, so my next poem is titled Humanity. And it's, like I said, it's from my second book. Thank you, Cynthia. I'm every woman who has ever lived. I'm every daughter who is born from a girl. I'm every song that the sun dances to. I'm every wind that touches your face. I'm every beat, every sound, every rhythm my grandmother speaks of. I am every poem born. I am the pride in my mother's eyes. I'm every dream, every step, every story untold. I am rain tears, the melody of pain. And only that in you, which is in me, can know what I'm saying. Only that in you, which exists in me, can hear what I feel. Only that in you, held in my mind, can stop the dreams in me. Only that in you, which fears most, can change what I am. Only that in you, which laughs in sadness, can teach my soul to smile. And only that in you, which awakens me, can fully be me. And now I am going to read a monologue from one of the plays that I wrote a couple of years ago, I think about 2 years ago, from a play called Kwezi, Say Her Name. So I'm going to read from that. The prologue of the play begins with the funeral of Fezekile Ntsukela Kuzayo. And for those who don't know Fezekile Ntsukela Kuzayo, she is the lady who had taken our ex-president to court for a rape case. Ridi Klabi published a book based on Fezekile's life and, of course, trial. And I read the book, and from the book, I started seeing images. I started hearing voices of different characters. I started imagining the play on stage. And then I contacted Reed and got the rights, and then started, really bringing to life different characters. So this is a prologue, and maybe I might go to the first scene, Kwezi. So Kim, who was Fezekile's friend, is the first to speak after the funeral of Fezekile, had started. Where were you when she, Kwezi, Fezekile, was desperate? Where were you when her pain kept her awake at night? Where were you when she had nothing? If you did not speak then, do not speak now. The feminists of South Africa are coming for you. Our rage cannot be stopped. It is coming for you. We are a pressure cooker waiting to explode. The rapes, the violence, the groping, the labeling, the corrective rape of lesbians, the murder of women, the abuse of our mothers, and the femicide of all girl children is unbearable. Patriarchy cannot and will not have the last word. We are coming for you. And then I am going to read 2 more poems. And then maybe we can start having conversation, Natasha. Yeah, maybe we can then start having conversation, and then I can read as we go along. The 2 last poems that I'm going to read are from my 3rd book, The Heartbeat of the Rain. And the first poem is what gave birth to the book. This was part of my master's in creative writing and part of my assignment. So, yes. Cool. Cool. So I'm going to read. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, sorry. I'm listening. We're listening. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. It feels so awkward because I'm such a theater person. I'm used to seeing people and hearing voices. So I'm just going to read the last 2 short poems, and then we can have a conversation. Is it
No
fine?
worries. We are here for you. Absolutely.
Hey!
I'm so mesmerized.
Okay. Yeah, drama. You guys
Drama,
have a
drama.
now. It couldn't have started. It had to start with a mashed potato and gravy. So I'm going to read the last 2 poems. And
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
It's
you so
lovely.
much. Yes. After my father's death, I grew up seeing my mother behind the door at the edge of her once shared bed, dressed in black, kneeling, trembling with sorrow, alone, a widow. Her hands locked together, shaking, whispering, tears soaking her open Bible, hurting, not knowing how she would raise 3 children, wondering how could it have been that a thin tie hooked to the roof of a sweet home dangled her husband like a bell, sucked life out of his soul. Her voice I heard breaking, hushing, between her fingers, piercing freely. I saw, silently, many times, sweat mixed with tears, dripping life from her face, slipping down her black arms, resting on her black mourning clothes. And still, my mother never stopped to pray. So that was one of those poems that I never want to memorize, because it's that's actually the poem that made me to become a poet. When after my father's death, the pain, the depression, the stress, and what, not just what I was going through, but also what my mother was going through, was just so heavy that I could only express it through words. And I started writing my first poem. So most times when people like, when did you start becoming a poet? I'm like, my father's last breath was my first voice of poetry.
Wow.
And then I'm going to do one of my oldest poems, Setsotho, and it's a mixture of English and Sesotho, because I do that a lot. I mix different languages. Setsotho means it's a name that's given to a most beautiful woman, you know, the kind that we only read about in fairy tales and stories, but they live among us. I know, right? Ke Setsotho le bokgabane ba mosadi wa mo Afrika. Ka botle le seriti sa hae ke sila tsatsi ngwana ditshomo. I am the one who is born in the house of the queens. So I raised to swim inside the royal blood, chasing my yesteryears, my beauty scraps earth, creating shades of purity on any child's back. In the sky today, I greet moonlight shine, holding my dreams. I am the karmic indigenous way of being. Tahamiso rises from my eyes. The bongo drums of life dances on my palms. Between these mountains of fire, nations are born. My heart is like mohope containing the fertile hope. Ke re ke setsoto le bokgabane ba mosadi wa mo Afrika. Ka botle le seriti sa ka ke sila tsatsi ngwana ditshomo. Ke mmakgutsitse palesa e ntle tshwanahadi. Ke le kopo ke a koposela. Ke mmamo hau ke a hauhela. Ke metsi a foro ke a forosela. Ke mabele ke a qalana. The forest leaves clear my path. I sing like a waterfall. I fly like a bird. I move in one file with life. Asian rock selects my journey, and with prophetic words, the telestar of love traverses the vast span of being. The world fears my beauty. The world hunts my strength. But I hear the wind calling my name, playing my rhythms. I am daughter of the soil. The ocean begins inside me. History is rewritten. Every day I fold and mold the wisdom of my ancestors. The baobab tree leaves gracefully fall for my people because their sorrow and pain is engraved on hills of struggle. Me and them move with dust. Me and them run after legends. Ke re ke setsoto le bokgabane ba mosadi wa mo Afrika. Ka botle le seriti sa ka ke sila tsatsi ngwana ditshomo. Ke mmakgutsitse palesa e ntle tshwanahadi. Ke le kopo ke a koposela. Ke mmamo hau ke a hauhela. Ke metsi a foro ke a forosela. Ke mabele ke a qalana. Yes. This is odd.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Woo.
Oh, yes.
Wow, I have to fight the tears back. I have to hold them back through that. That's incredible. Beautiful.
And even if you don't understand the
Wow.
language, you can feel it, right?
Feel it. Yeah, from the inside, right from the inside out.
True.
Oh, thank you.
I know. It was a very rocky start. What I wish I had known was that technology is a mess.
Oh, wow. I need to recover now. That was really moving, really powerful. And it just goes to show that you don't need to understand the language, like you said, in order to feel it. You know, the power of words.
It's the power of words is an amazing force, an amazing energy. Like it's like music, you know. It's like, and I think poetry does that a lot. And hence most times when I write poetry, I always feel like there are certain words in my mother tongue that I'm not able to translate, and as a result, I cannot cheat myself. And even if I were to translate the meaning, the depth, the soul, you know, and the layers of that language, you know, can never be understood. So I always argue, not just with myself, but even when I teach or when I'm, you know, sharing with young writers, that, you know, there's something very powerful about language that you shouldn't compromise, and that's our mother tongue. It's like when you are angry, English runs out of words because it's not our mother, right? Yeah, no, it's not our mother, right? So like there's certain things that maybe the other person doesn't understand what you're saying, but your words are like, yo, I have messed up with a black woman, and this woman is going to burn me alive, right? But it's the same thing that my grandmother used to say, who's one of my biggest inspiration. She used to say that even when we pray, she'll be like, who are you? Why are you praying in English? Because your ancestors don't know English. It was never their mother. So you cannot pray in English. Speak and pray in the language that your people understand, so that your prayers can go directly to them. They don't off-ramp. They don't go through an inbox, that they can literally recognize you by your voice, your tongue, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. It doesn't go to an inbox. It should go directly.
It must go
to
directly.
them.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. That is so amazing. So, everybody, welcome. There's lots of comments, and I will share them with you. Do we have any questions for Napo? I mean, after that amazing, that series of amazing performances, does anyone have any questions they'd like to share? Okay, we've got something from Maza.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's asking, she says, could you talk about which poems you memorize and which ones you read, and what happens during the memorization of them?
I find myself being able to memorize the poems that are very affirming, very celebratory, very upbeat. A poem that is hard for me to memorize is a poem that really hits home. And there's just something about it. I'm unable to memorize, like the one that I read about my father after my father's death. I know it. And I have, like from theater background, I'm constantly, I work with words and I always memorize words, but there's something about poems like that one that just makes it hard for me not to cover. And maybe that's me protecting myself, because it takes me back, to the space, the time. While with upbeat poems, not only are they very interactive, in most cases when I perform in South Africa or in communities or Lesotho or Botswana or in communities that where people understand the language, my mother tongue, there is a call and response. So it takes us to the ancient times of what poetry is, and the choreo poems type of thing. So I find that it's easy to memorize upbeat poems, but very, very, very hard. And I struggle with poems that take me to a particular space, because then poetry is not like theater. I'm not wearing a character. This is who I am.
Yeah. So it just has to come beautiful. Sorry, your words are so captivating. I forget to look at the questions because I find myself just I'm rapt watching you. Okay, I've got a question from Troy, and he's asking, how long does it take you to prepare for a performance, and what goes into your preparation?
So because I think I've got the benefits of the fact that, before I was a poet, I trained as a theater maker. So most times, of course, is for me to read the poem or the monologue, or to read a dialogue. But also imagery is one of the most important things either way. So I always have to have pictures in my mind of, okay, from this point, what comes? Is it the mountains? After the mountains, is it the valley? Is it the hills? Is it the landscape? And then what does that look like? Or why did I say that? Oh, that was me. It's a symbol of my body as a Black woman. The the cliffs, the curves, and all those.
I felt that. I felt very mountainly, womanly.
Between these mountains, the fire nations are born. So it's mountains, it's fire. And I'm like, oh, I know what I'm exactly talking about. So on a very good, like it takes me a day to, to get into the poem, and then to learn every line. Then the following day, and depending on the length of the poem, I go back to the poem and now start working on the rhythm. And then the pace, and allow myself to also discover what the poem or the monologue has for me. So it takes 2 to 3 days. By the third day, I'm just like singing it everywhere I go. When I'm asking for mashed potato and gravy, I'm like, you can ask me like, what's that poem? What's that line? What's that monologue? I'm gonna be like, yeah, no, I know what it is from the back of my hand. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I have a question from Zuki here, which is asking you if your bum is still generic, but I think she means genetic.
I think so.
And for those of you who don't know, Napo staged a beautiful play known as My Bum is Genetic, deal with it.
Yes.
So is your bomb still genetic? And would you like to say anything about that play and what it meant to you?
It's still genetic. I don't think, even if I lose weight, the bum never goes away. There's a whole scene in that play where I say that every time I eat something, to this day, 10 years later, I kind of feel like the food goes past through my throat, breasts, everything, but just lands at the back. So the bum is still
Right
genetic.
there.
Right there.
There.
So this bum still has dreams, ideas, and a voice that is beyond
Everything.
me. It's still genetic. It's actually the play that launched me, and from being a poet into it took me back from being well-known spoken word artist in South Africa to being a theater maker, which was my first love. But also that time, there was I was going through a lot of issues, insecurities about my body, but also frustrated that, when you look at magazines, they're not people like us, Every time I went for casting agents, I don't have the look, I'm not this enough, I'm not this enough. And it kind of frustrated me, and I got very angry. But also it was me being in Germany. I was in a theater residence in Germany, and it was their World Cup, and we were doing shopping with one of my cousins and business partner, and there's a group of white girls started laughing at us. Firstly, we were like, they were the spectators. They were just looking at us. They were following.
Wow.
So I think they were fascinated with us. But I think more than anything, they were fascinated with when I kept on trying out different, shirts. I'm that person. I hate dressing rooms because those 3-dimensional mirrors, they make me look at all my body parts out, and I don't like that. So sometimes when I see a shirt, I'm just like, theater thing, I want to fit it. Does it look nice? It doesn't look nice. I put it away. So I was doing that innocently. And they started poking each other and laughing and imitating how I walked. I was very disturbed because they spoke German. I spoke Sesotho. I started insulting. I started being very, I was just like, ugh. But when I got back to the theater, I started thinking, what's the best weapon that I have to talk about Black women bodies and issues, and how constantly we are being viewed as an object and not good enough and not beautiful enough. And I used the only weapons that I had, which is pen and paper. And I penned it down, and I came back to the country. Then I started making research, sending out questionnaires to different women with body issues. And I realized that, yes, with me, it might have been the bum. Everybody, for all I know, keep saying, which Napo, the one with the big butt. It's not, not the intelligent Napo. It's not, the loud mouth Napo. It's like, which one? You mean the one with, And to this day, I'm still called, some people will be like, are you that lady, the bum lady? I'm like, yeah, I am. What, do you want to be part of the political party of my bum? Which is Booties United in Movement. But anyway, then it became successful, and everybody started writing back to me and engaging with me. And I realized that all of us, especially as women, we have something on our bodies that we are not confident about, that we have an issue with. And it might be the nose, it might be the lips, it might be the hair, whatever it is. And for me, it was very important to embrace and to say that no matter what I do, if it's not broken, I can't fix it. This is what I have.
This is me. Yeah, that is so powerful. I have a question from Remy. And he asks, how do you stop yourself from being completely swallowed by your performances? How do you know how much to hold back versus how much to give?
Again, I'll keep on referring to, the skills that one learned from a theater school. So when when you walk into a space, as what Barney Simon used to say, one of the South African theater makers said, that you put on a jacket. So for me, I would put on an invisible duke, right? A head wrap, and put on earrings. It means I transform myself to be in that space. And then I'm aligned, I tune in, I get on on stage, I do what I'm supposed to do, but I'm very, very wary to always leave the audience when they want more. So I'm one of those people, I don't hijack the stage. Actually, I know my set, I know what I'm supposed to do. Because I rehearsed before, I know that it's 5 poems. It means it's 2-3 minutes, 15 minutes with an applause if I get an applause. If not, boom. I never like to explain my poetry. So I get there, do the work, bow out, and then if there's Q&A, I do Q&A. But there's always that thing in theater that leave the people when they still want more. But also, once you have given the audience what you want them to leave with, don't overfeed people. You know what I mean? Just give them enough just to feed their soul, to inspire their mind, or provoke their emotions, and get to a different debate after the show, as opposed to now giving
Wow. Okay. We've got Kalaf in Germany who's asking, where can we buy the recordings? Your voice and performances are magnificent.
Woo, thank you. I'm actually busy now with the lockdown, recording all my poems. So they're going to be online, but I do have, I've got CDs, I've got DVDs that I have in my house, so people can just inbox me and we can talk about ways of making sure the work gets to them. I'm a self-published poet, and most of my plays are not yet published, but they are all, they've got videos. I make sure that I archive because I'm obsessed with archiving stuff. So they can just inbox me and we can talk about which part they want. Other than that,
so I'm like,
Googleable. I'm Googleable.
Googleable. I hope everyone's heard that.
I am Googleable. Yeah, people will tell you I am Googleable. There's a whole lot of other performances, and I'm hoping in this lockdown, because of what I've been, with my friends working on, there's going to be more stuff, especially the recent stuff, unheard poems that I've published over this that are going to be on Instagram, on, Facebook, on online, and of course on other, mediums. Yeah, and Twitter.
Perfect. I think we'll be inboxing you right after this. Mother's asking, which poets have you been reading during the lockdown?
I have been reading, not necessarily poetry, because I have about 10 books that I start and then I don't tend to finish. So I'm reading, Alice Walker, the short stories of Alice Walker. But also I'm actually busy writing a one-woman show and a two-hander with my son. So there's a collaboration. So those are the two plays. So my next one-woman show, titled My Vagina Was Not Buried with Him, is what's keeping me busy. So I'm busy with that since the lockdown. And so I go back to my bank of words and research and stuff. Like sometimes you read something and inspire something, you've got a note, you put it in your bank. So I'm usually I've been dealing with my bank of words and my bank of monologues or codes and stuff to say, what would this character do? But I'm also doing a lot of research. And I'm working with my son every single day. We have like an hour to 2 hours where we're fleshing out the play about a Black mother who's raising a queer Black boy.
Wow. How old is your son?
17.
Oh, lovely.
So those are the
amazing. That's nice. Especially during lockdown, I guess it also allows you to work together to, and impart your craft, your knowledge.
Yeah, but also he's such, because he's at a drama school, so it's also 2 minds that are working together. He's at the National School of the Arts, so he's doing drama. He's been doing it for 5 years, and it's his final year.
Wow.
So, and he likes very abstract theater and more realism and very choreo poem, kind of like plays. So it's also fusing 2 styles, but we're very clear about the storyline. And we give each other tasks. I have to speak to my queer friends. He has to speak to his queer friends, and there's always, you need to deliver, and then we come together, we write. I constantly have to shout at myself and remind myself that I'm not a mother in that space, that I'm a fellow creator.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. We've got a question from Remy who's asking you if you have any themes that you are hesitant to explore in your poetry.
Wow, no one has ever asked that. You're really me. Not necessarily. I think as like all the writers, there are certain things that just spark or provoke you or you get drawn to. So I know that my first voice and the first tongue that I know is that of women, right? Being a
Yeah.
black woman in the world and the kind of issues and challenges that we face as black women, good or bad, whether it's us embracing that we are sensual, sexual beings. So I would write about sex and love, or more political in terms of the issues that are happening in South Africa, femicide, the abuse and rape of a girl child. So for me, they're just things that I think because I'm a woman and I've always been a woman, I'm going to be drawn to a particular things, but I don't, when I take pen and paper and say, I'm going to. And I think more than anything, because I also make a living as a writer and as a performer for like mainstream and commercial. Sometimes the client says, write about cows, even if I don't want to write about cows, and I'm like, oh my God, the cows.
Yeah.
Okay, write about the trees and the flowers. I'm not, the trees and the flowers represent something for me. So, but the thing is that when you're writing and you're a writer who makes a living out of writing, sometimes, a client says, no, please tell us about gin and tonic. And I'm like, huh? Okay. It's my favorite anyway. But
Yeah.
I feel like I don't see myself writing about gin and tonic as a poem. But if the client says, we're going to pay you, there's a deadline, this is the brief, write about coffee, stuff like that.
Then gin and tonic it is.
Then it is, yeah. And then I can smile my way to the bank and get that very same gin and tonic.
Right. I've been asked to ask about the photos behind you.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us a story about them or what they represent?
So this is my working space. That was actually Napo Masheane live at the Joburg Theatre and Soweto Theatre. So because I can't sing, right? I did music, but I can't hold a note. So my voice is always on lockdown, but I know when I hear a good note. So I like collaborating a lot with musicians, traditional jazz and a cappella musicians. So the pictures there at the back are of traditional women who are from the mountains in Lesotho, and they do this very famous dance called Ditolobonya, where you're taking your bum type of thing. But they also sing like songs that are only sang by the women of the mountains. We call them Ditsejani. So when they come from initiation school, there are songs and poems that they recite. So I collaborated with them. And then there's a cappella group called Beyond Vocal. They can sing those brothers, Shem. So but I collaborate a lot with musicians. So I would do my poetry and be loud, but I allow the musicians to guide and tell me when I need to come in.
Wow. Amazing. So I'm scrolling for questions, but I've got a question myself. I love your titles. Like they sort of give you an image already, or a sense or a feeling, which I get now that you've recited for us, I think some of them are like hair and comb, street lights with lips. I'm just like, so when you create, and I mean, just even my bum is genetic itself. Like your titles themselves are so magnetic, so charismatic on their own. Is there a process? Sorry, I know I'm doing our party sign. Bums in United.
I know, right?
Yes,
Bum forum.
I'll be standing next year. So, how do you come up with your titles? Is it deliberate, or do you find that you start with a title and then work your way, or do you work through whatever you're working through and then arrive at your title?
It's pretty much both, or everything. Sometimes it's like when it's like if you were to say what arrives first, is it a poem or a title? Sometimes I don't know, but like I said, I've got a bank full of words and codes and things that I'm thinking constantly, or that sparks my mind. But in terms of titles, and this is the obsession of me, before I did theater, before I went to drama school, my mom was like, people don't get paid for being loud, for singing, and for being themselves. So you better get a qualification. So bless her soul, I had to do marketing management, you know. So I learned about branding, about advertising, and all these things, right? So I knew going into theater school that first and foremost, I'm not going to be a poor artist.
Okay.
I refuse. I rebuke that. If I don't get a role, I would have to create the work. And for me, when you create a work, it becomes a product. And the first thing that people are going to, you know, hear or see is the title. So I'm always like, what do I want people to, you know, get attracted to? So somehow with my titles, I really, it's a really thought process. I don't just come up with, I debate, I ask friends, I put 5 different titles, I sleep over them. Sometimes I dream, you know, sometimes I listen to my gut feeling, and somehow, like, for instance, The Heartbeat of the Rain, which is my 3rd book, just like, oh yeah, you know, oh, I'm of a crocodile clan. It always rains when I perform. When something big happens in my life, it just rains. And I'm just like, wow. So maybe my voice or my call is the heartbeat of what makes the rain, you know, fall. So Heartbeat of the Rain, you know, fed songs for my girlfriends, was like, okay, fed songs. And I'm thinking, who am I dedicating this book to? So like all my girlfriends, when we talking things that are out of question, but things that, you know, would necessarily have to take people like myself to bring them to the stage. It's like that songs for my girlfriends, you know.
Yeah. And it's amazing because titles, they have their own energy, don't they? They have their own life, their own
Maisha Jenkins also says
waves.
that. Yes, Maisha Jenkins also used to say that one of our African-American South African poets used to say, you can't have a baby and not name them. You know what I mean? So I don't deal with untitled. It doesn't work for me. It's like, you have a child. What's the name of your child? Unknown, right?
Yeah, powerful.
So your child, a poem, a song, a play, everything must have a name. But also it goes back to how we need, it's part of documenting and archiving that even after 50 years, after 100 years, when I'm gone, people need to always remember that somebody came up with, my palm is genetic, deal with it. And also it's true. You know, I've been dealing with, I'm still dealing with it. I can't fit into jeans. I can't, you know, wear whatever I like.
Yeah.
But I'm dealing with it, so you deal with it. But join my political party.
No, I'm a cadre. I'm a full member now. Boop, boop, boop.
I'm gonna send the card, sister. I'm gonna send the card.
Thank you, President.
Member card. You might not be a deputy. We'll just find a portfolio for you.
Anything is fine. I'll make tea. It's fine. Just as long as. So thank you for that. That was very powerful. I've still got some questions. Someone's asking, do you teach art? And if not, is it something that you would consider?
The best storytellers in the world are teachers. We are walking, living libraries, right? And that's us as Africans. We are, our generation, we have more access to, you know, being able to have laptops and pens and what, but we are oral people. And so whether we like it or not, when somebody dies, when a village poet stands and recites and talks about the person who had just passed away, somebody's learning up and getting to know that person. So for me, the answer is yes. I teach drama, I teach creative writing, I teach multiple use of languages in writing, because English doesn't necessarily mean that you're intelligent. I teach directing, and even as a director, when I get into stage, I'm constantly teaching people how to tap and become those characters. So everything that I do, it has elements of being a teacher, consciously or subconsciously.
Okay. I think our time is running out. We've got about 5 minutes. So is there anything you'd like to share before we get ready to wrap up?
I mean, I can
anything
poem.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Yes. So this poem is titled, I Wish I Could Stand. Can I stand, guys?
Please stand.
We
need to see the.
No, you're not going to see that now. But there's a silent tongue of thunder before the rollout of the rain. From the silence of our skies, what song, what sounds, what mystery among these blades of grass has the good Lord made? She has made my mother, my sister, my daughter, my warrior, my aunt, my teacher, my priestess, my twin, my grandmother, my lover, my healer, my world. God has made us phenomenal beings, the very essence of this lifetime. They are young girls who use culture as their home and the world as their mirror. Young girls who refuse to fall from their childhood like leaves that weep from a tree. Their hungry throat wait for pure milk from the breasts of earth. And their sisters who hit the streets like lightning to tell stories that even our hearts will never write. They put on their shoes, embrace their crowns, walk to survive the journey. And their mothers who dive into the sea to silence fists of anger. They know the color of our screams, the sound of our tears. They played our pain to hide the shame. Mothers whose hearts are shaped like the midnight star. And their mothers and grandmothers who stand like history on our lips to make our minds undress in the face of love. Grandmothers who urge us to beat and beat and beat and beat our family drums louder to mend the sins of our roots. They always remind us our mouths are beautiful flowers that will never close. There are women in this world who know our tears can claim our scars, infuse growth to inspire healing. And with their cracked fingers, these women, they weave the storm, the wind, and the rain. With their fingertips, these women, they weave the storm, the wind, and the rain into a loving, healing, soothing song. There is a silent tongue of thunder before the roll out of the rain. From the silence of our skies, what song, what psalms, what mystery among these blades of grass has the good Lord made? She has made my mother, my sister, my daughter, my warrior, my aunt, my teacher, my priestess, my twin, my grandmother, my lover, my healer, my world. God has made us phenomenal beings, the very essence of this lifetime.
Oh, wow. Can I clap?
Yay! Theater came to my house today.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I have a carpet of goosebumps everywhere. It's incredible. You are, you are so generous with your soul, and thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Netta. Thank you. You've been amazing. You're beautiful, by the way. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you. So Napo, before you sign out, you're gonna it's going to ask you if you can save the video. So please save the video, because I think this session is going to be of so much value to so many people around the world and on the continent. So just thank you so much again for giving so much of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Blessings to everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Blessings.